$11.20 and change.
Okay, just so you know, as soon as we get a quorum, I'll start.
It doesn't do any good to get there yet. Till you have 3 of us, it doesn't do any good. I said, until 3 of us are up there, it doesn't do any good to get up there.
You get paid.
I can't do anything when I'm up there. I can't do anything. Until one more councilman gets here, I can't even do anything. Can't even call a meeting. You can actually have the entire meeting as long as someone didn't do a quorum check. Technically. It's a weird rule. You can actually do it. Because the minutes you send, the minutes she sends are minutes. It actually doesn't. It's a screw law.
Not going there.
But anyone at any time can do a point of order.
For the record, Mayor Jamor is not going with what we do to get around
That's right.
the law.
All you gotta do is quorum check. That's the only 2 things you can say, point of order and quorum check. It's still there's only a couple of teams that'll cold brew.
There.
He said it's $11.
Walking to City Hall. And all of Matthew Road. That's 63, you know, really, 63. And they fly the whole time, even going down the right. Matthew Road, section of 3, track, where they had a full time, which they produced in that 20,000.
It's like, hey,
I'm guessing I'd love to figure out a way to go to Chicago. We'll probably go to Brooklyn.
I'm still sitting on you.
Yeah, the problem with Foxborough is a 30-minute camper. So by the time you maybe you get into another $100.
Okay, let's call to order. the August 19th, 2014 Statesboro City Council Meeting. Our invocation and pledge was to be given by Councilman John Riggs, who is not here at this time, so I will go ahead and do that. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day, this wonderful place in which we live, our families, our neighbors, those who serve our community, those who look out for others, and those who have the best interests of our community at heart. Please wrap your arms around all of us, each other, our city, our fellow citizens in the county. Help us to make good and right and just decisions today, all in your honor. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it looks as if we don't have any recognitions or public presentations today, so I'm going to ask Ms. Sue, do we have anybody that's asked to give a public comment today for an agenda item?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am? Okay. I'm going to move to agenda item 5, a consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda, and give council a minute to review that, and then ask for somebody to give a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes. Let's move on to agenda item number 6, which is a public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application V 140701 from Out Parcel Holdings LLC, looking for a sign variance at 1607 Chandler Road. I'm going to ask Mandy Cody from Planning would speak to this particular request.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the site most of you will recognize on Chandler Road as being under construction for the new Zaxby's, even as we speak. Pursuant to our zoning ordinance, that location is in Sign District 3, which only allows for monument-style signs that are 8 foot tall in height. Zaxby's has filed various requests asking for a pylon or pole sign at 20 feet tall. We have reviewed this application with the development team. We've particularly relied on our engineering staff to help us with this one. And given the terms of the variance that are specified for criteria in section 1807 of the ordinance, and the high traffic, the curve that is in the road at that particular location, and the other signage in the area, the staff has recommended an award of this variance on a couple of conditions, primarily those conditions being that the sign itself, as well as the placement of the sign, be in accordance with the site plan that has been submitted and reviewed by the engineering team and the rest of the development staff. If those conditions are met, we feel like we can accommodate this particular variance request. We did visit this. We made an attempt to put a visit of this particular request to the Planning Commission last week. Unfortunately, our Planning Commission was not able to convene for lack of a quorum, so I do not have a Planning Commission recommendation to offer to you all this evening. But I do believe there's a representative from the applicant here. If you all have any questions about him or myself.
Mandy, I guess for you, where is, we talked to Georgia Southern much about it. Where are we on Georgia Southern standpoint, and what have you?
George Southern was notified, councilman, as well as all the other adjacent property owners. I have not received any comments from any of the nearby property owners in this particular application.
Mandy, can you show me on the map where that's going?
Where the sign is going, it would be going on, I don't think you can see that, but it is in your packet there. It would be going on Chandler. It will be going pretty close to the ingress and egress points. And we looked very closely at how tall, how short, where exactly the signage needed to be so that we could get the line of sight issues just right for the traffic.
Yeah, I just can't tell from what's in here where it's going. Is that it?
Oh, the same thing. That's what I was trying to kind of get at. What's it going to look like? Where's it going to be?
The rendering of the sign, that's what it will look like. You can see that on the screen.
There's that one.
There's that one. And it doesn't show up well, I apologize on the concept, but it will go on, it will face Chandler, it will front on Chandler.
Well, show me on the picture. Yeah. No,
That one?
not that. Back on the actual, yeah. laser and show me where it's going on that.
Well, I thought of, I didn't bring one of these lasers with me tonight. So, it is going, let me see if I can find it on the concept and get it translated for you.
Probably straight across from the dorm there.
Is on this drawing,
Yeah.
down from the floor, down
Is it right
and to the right of the floor?
It's in the right hand, on the right hand side of the plat.
Up on the top right?
curve, yeah.
Okay.
So it's way up from that. Okay.
So it's actually back on the, kind of non-curve, before the curve. It's ways before the curve. If it looked like there, it would be
If you're going towards
directly in front
Georgia, it
of
would be.
the chicken, it used to be coffee place, but now they're the takeout place, so it'd be right in front of that.
Okay, I have a large, hold on, I can actually see.
So it's really not down anywhere near the intersection, is what I'm hearing you say.
It's not if it's according to this one that we're looking at, it's literally right at the beginning of the curve, right before the curve, you can look at it.
That's right.
And so the problem, Andy, you're saying is that if we put the lower sign and coming in and out of there, that back, you go through the drive-through and all that mess, it's gonna block it, people coming around the curve, is that the deal?
Mhm.
So the sign is, the variance of asphalt is for 20 feet, and the sign that we allow right now is a monument at Hawthorne.
8.
Okay.
And the 20 feet was a little bit of a concern to his council, because even in sign district 2, which allows for pole signs, the maximum height on a local road is 15 feet. So this even exceeds that request. So we looked very closely when we were reviewing this particular request at what the height should be, really concentrating on that line of sight for the traffic coming up Chandler and the traffic coming out of the site. And 20 was just the best that we felt like we could get to from an engineering perspective. And public safety perspective.
Mayor, because this is this, I forget when the line was drawn, is this now in John's district? You're right, it is, because we changed the line somewhere in there 100 yards. I just, without,
This is Councilman's district.
yeah, without, we're in a public hearing, I guess we were talking now. Without those two guys here, without Phil and John here, I think this makes a difference. This is changing the look of kind of what we're calling the entrance door to Southern right there. Everywhere around that. I guess I'll take blame. If one of y'all done it, great. But I had not contacted Georgia Southern and said, look, do you realize right across the street from your brand new $20 million dorms, you're about to have a Zaxby's chicken time. So they say, well, yeah, I know.
I did talk to him. And I, without something in writing, I'm not gonna put words in their mouth.
We'll be correct on it too.
Yes, they are. I'm not gonna put words in their mouth, but, if you wanna wait and let them come and say, you know, if you have an issue, you need to have the issue, I don't have any beef with that.
I think not having the other two councilmen here too, I just think that, you know, if we could go backwards, you know, Gary, if we could go backwards when that Waffle House sign was first put up, we could have brought that Waffle House sound down 5 or 10 feet, like we thought about doing afterwards. I think we would have done that, because now people say, well, Waffle House has a sign. Because anything that comes on that road after today will be 20 feet tall. Would be the way I would view it. They're going to say, well, you did it for them. And we have the option of saying, no, we don't want to do that. But if that's the direction to go, fine. If we're going to make that fundamental change, I think I'd rather do that once every year.
Well, let me say also, you said the original height is 15 feet, and we 5 feet above that now? If we
Proposed
allow
size
you
is
to
15. Yeah, it's really 8, Councilman.
but the maximum we go is 15, right?
I'm sorry?
The maximum we can go is 15, or we only allow 15?
In this district, the maximum we can go is 8.
8.
But in the districts that allow for a pole sign, it would be 15.
Okay.
And this isn't one of them. I just use that as a point of reference.
So it would be 12 feet above what we're doing.
Right. Well, I think we should just wait till the other two guys come in too and see.
Because the dialysis center is for sale. And that could potentially become something commercial. The convenience store down the way could always change hands. And you've got the place, South City, on the very corner. I'm just saying, there's several things that could come in there and all of a sudden they have a new sign. I just don't know if that's a fundamental change we make.
You know, I'll be honest with you, I have to agree with you. Because there isn't anybody in the world that isn't going to know it's a Zaxby's on that corner. I mean, it's in a very tight area, and it's very visible, and
They could go there with no sign.
if you go there with no sign and people be hanging out the thing and blocking the road, that's gonna be your biggest problem. It's road blockage coming out of there, so, you know, I would urge, would you like to come up and speak? I see you're from Zaxby's.
Sure. Thank you.
And see what your thoughts are about possibly, is there another sign you could look at putting there for areas like this?
Yeah, there is, we've used a concept before that is smaller. I believe it is a little bit over that 8 feet still, but I think it's closer to 10 as well. So it's a possibility we can revisit.
Can you do that?
Absolutely.
And go back and look, because I think you're gonna see that sign, if you go with that anyway, is gonna look a little out of place.
Well, you know, we like to go big, so we're okay with that. But yeah, we can definitely revisit that. And when would we expect maybe we have this year?
Well, hopefully next meeting, we will be a little bit better represented.
Okay, so I can try and have her.
Why don't you do that and get that to Mandy, if that's okay?
Absolutely, and we do appreciate you hearing something.
That would be great, and if you could even, and I know you'll probably have a rendering of this, I don't know if you do, you don't. Why don't you see if you can't superimpose? That sign on the rendering?
The rendering that you do have is actually our outdated logo.
Okay.
So it's gonna look a little bit different.
Yeah, see and then we can look at it actually conceptually on the property, I think that would be helpful.
That's something that's.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Crudup,
Yes, I am.
it's nice to meet you.
Thank you too.
All right, thank you. So, we shall table this and hold another public hearing when we have more information, is that what we'd like to do?
Yes, ma'am. Motion to postpone this for, are we doing it one meeting or are we doing it until the information, until whenever?
Well, until Mr. Craddock provides us with some additional information. Craddock, is that Craddock?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7 is public hearing consideration of a motion to approve application B 140703 Henley Properties request a variance from section 1509 regarding a sign setback in District 1, which is Councilman Britt's district, to be clear.
It is.
For property located at East Grady Street and South Mulberry Street. Could I have Ms. Edwards speak to that?
I'm across the street. It's not mine.
It's not?
I'm across the street. I'm reading
Oh,
it.
okay.
Gary's.
So this is Gary's. Okay, now we're on another property. All right, Mandy, do you want to speak to this item?
Yes, ma'am, we'll be happy to.
Thank you.
This particular sign is in the proper scale and structure that is required by the ordinance. It also is in sign District 3. However, it's encroaching on the setback pursuant to the zoning ordinance. No signs can be located in the right-of-way or within a 5-foot setback from the right-of-way. The monument for this sign was constructed at 1 foot off of the right-of-way line, so it encroaches the setback. The variance request tonight is to be able to encroach in that setback area that is required by the ordinance. We did review this with the development team. We analyzed it pursuant to section 1807, 1801 of the zoning ordinance, which gives the criteria for consideration of variances to be issued. We have recommended consideration of the variance here based on those factors. This is a very small site. It's less than an acre in size. A good deal of the site is actually undevelopable because of a railroad right-of-way that intersects the site and cuts down there. There's not a substantial hardship that would be created by the issuance of this variance because the right-of-way has been respected here. So it's a setback issue. And again, we had this on the agenda for last week's planning commission meeting, but due to lack of quorum, I'm not able to pass along the recommendation from that group to you all tonight.
sign itself, without the signage on it, the brick is already there.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Distraction line, so did you want to come up and speak about Brian?
I would first of all take the blame for having the sign in the wrong spot. This is not something that Mandy or her team approved. It's a mistake on our end as far as like the proximity that is off the line. My ultimate goal is, those of you familiar with the project, is that I did not want our sign to be on the corner with the fountain. I really wanted the fountain to feel almost like it was a public area for downtown. So I talked to Mr. Henley into not putting this sign on the corner, which would have been way off the setback, into putting on the side of the property where I felt like it would not compete with the fountain that's on the corner. And when we did that, we actually ended up being too close. I made sure that we were off of the right of way, but what I did not make sure is that we were far enough off the right of way. So the sign's on our property, but it is not far enough on our property is what it comes down to. I had Councilman Britt come out and take a look. I actually thought it was his district, so I apologize that I did not get you to come out. When I looked at it, I really thought it was on your side. When you are leaving and entering and leaving the property, it does not interfere with any sight distance for any traffic that's coming down the road. It's similar in size to what we have at the retreat. It's the exact same sign that we have there, the same sign that we have at the Village at Midtown. We use the same brick that we use with the buildings, and we have a professional sign being made, which you can see that's on the board, and be professionally painted as well. So ultimately, we're just going for a certain look, and we were trying to keep it from competing with the fountain in the corner, so it felt more like a public area than it did just like a Henley Properties landmark per se. So, do you have any questions for me in regards to that?
The other thing you brought up to me when we looked at it is, you centered the sign sort of between the road and the building. It looks centered. If you actually followed what our variance is, it would look a little skewed, unless the road widened or you put in a sidewalk or something. But right now, it looks very aesthetically correct.
Yeah, it is centered, and if we did it, if we moved it to 5 feet back, it's going to look like the sign is almost setting on the building, like it's going to have very small amount of space between the building and the sign, so it was centered in that aspect, and that's part of what got me in the situation I'm in tonight.
He just wanted to be pretty.
I know.
Well, my concern is what somebody coming through that intersection right there, I think would be what? Mulberry and Gray right there?
Great.
And an accident occurred, so I couldn't see the other car coming going east because of the sign.
That you could not see what?
The traffic is going east on Greater Street.
That you could not see the
And you
sign?
couldn't see the traffic coming because of that sign. What do you think about that now?
What the reason that we chose the sign placement and we put it on that side versus putting it on Mulberry, the traffic count that comes up and down East Grady is probably 10 times the amount that goes up and down South Mulberry. So the reason that we placed the sign was because of that, because the traffic count is so much higher coming up and down East Grady. The sign is double-sided, so there'll be a sign on both sides of the brick monument, so it'll get the traffic that's basically the major cut through downtown, which is the East Grady Street.
Do y'all have any issue with sight lines with this sign from a traffic perspective?
We do not, ma'am. We looked at that with our team, and we did not find an issue.
Gary, after I met, I went and drove it. I walked to it and came back and drove it. The way that it is, pulling up Mulberry, facing Grady, taking a right, taking a left, it does not, you can actually see the grass and always the railroad track before you actually see. It doesn't, there's no sight line at all for that sign to block the road at all.
Okay, that was my only concern about the traffic.
A little tiny train.
I don't think it's a tiny train, but you know.
As far as sight distance, we even had that part put up, we looked at, and had people like Mr. Henley and people in their cars trying to make sure that we go to see out far enough, because obviously we don't want it to be a hazard for any of our tenants as well. So.
Small dog. Small dog on the trail. But it really doesn't.
Well, no, Mr. Henry, like I do, I mean, he made a beautiful spot there, it's a beautification, and I like it, it's my district, and personally, I don't have a problem with it there. So, maybe we're over anyway.
Well, I appreciate y'all taking the time to let us talk to you about it.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve
Motion to approve.
application?
I do.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, we're moving to item number 8, which is public hearing and consideration of a motion to approve application SC 140603. Mose Mobley III requests a special exemption to allow a small hair salon in the R6 residential district on property located at 12 Carver Street. Again, Ms. Cody, I turn to you to speak to this variance request.
Thank you, Mayor. The special exception is a tool that we have in zoning ordinance that allows for a use to be placed into a district that is not normally allowed in that district if the council feels like that use can be accommodated by the surrounding characteristics of the neighborhood and would not infringe upon the surrounding neighborhood. And sometimes conditions can be added to that special exception grant to mitigate any harm to the surrounding. Mr. Mobley would like to place a hair salon at 12 Carver Street. 12 Carver Street is zoned R6, which is single-family residential, and it's 0.2 acres in size. This particular zone, R6, is limited to single-family neighborhood residential structures. And a hair salon is one of those uses that we have visited before, which you all may remember is not only not allowed as a commercial use in the R6, but it's not allowed as a home occupation use in R6 zones. That has necessitated the particular request before you this evening. What is interesting, and I think a point for consideration by the council tonight, is that this particular location is right at a transition point into residential areas. It's the second lot down Carver Street from Highway 80. The frontages are zoned commercial, highway marine commercial and commercial retail. They are utilized. Even Bragg Motor is directly across the street from this particular location. So there's some pretty heavy commercial uses in very, very close proximity to this particular property in one direction. The very next parcels in the opposite direction are single-family homes and single-family zoning. So this parcel is right on that transition line between commercial zoning and usage and residential zoning and usage. So that is what is before you today. We have analyzed this under sections 2406 and 2007 of the zoning ordinance, giving you many factors to think about, try to highlight most of those to you. I would remind you that a special exception is unique to the applicant if it is granted. This evening, if it does not transfer with the property, it is unique in use and to the person that it is granted to you, and under the conditions that you all may wish to grant it to Mr. Mobley. This property would have to go through our normal building processes for a permit. The applicant intends to erect a manufactured type of building, which we included in your packet and is there for you on the screen. Again, it's arguable that that would be in character with the more commercial uses on the front, but not so much in character with residential uses that come right after this property as you travel down Carver Street and then Donnie Simmons Way. I would be remiss to not tell you that I have received a number of calls on this particular application from members of the neighborhood. They have all been in opposition to this particular request. We did place this on the agenda for the Planning Commission last week, and as I've already stated, we weren't able to entertain any cases on it. With that being said, I'll be happy to take any questions you all may have.
The property on the present today.
I believe so. Yes, Mr. Radley's here.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are you talking about the Carver Street, or are you talking about the other property?
If anybody here that opposing this today, I mean, I don't know. That's my district call, so I want to make, you can come forward and do that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, how are you?
Good, Mayor, and the council. I'm in opposition to building over there because it is a residential section. It is true that Gray lawnmower service is there, but it was probably grandfathered in probably in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And it will lower the value of the current property owners there. That is a very narrow street, and with more business on it, it would make it even more congested. There are no sidewalks, and that means that people have to walk in the street. The drainage is poor when it rains. So that's still another reason why I'm against another business being built there. As I had said before, school buses travel that route, and it's very congested for them to get through at times. And that's still another reason why I'm opposed to another building being there. And like I have forestated, the area is a residential section, and I don't know, and as I have forestated, it will devalue the homeowners' property that lives there. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Did we have someone else who would like to speak?
Yes.
Regarding this, please come forward.
Read statement. My name is George Lovett, and I'm responsible for the property at 20 Carver Street, which is adjacent to the lot at 12 Carver Street that the owner wants to use as a hair salon. I'm against having a commercial enterprise next to my residential property. The residents of Carver Street already tolerate a lawnmower repair business that was apparently allowed before the property on Carver Street was zoned residential several years ago. Additionally, the metal building proposed by the landowner at 12 Carver Street doesn't blend with the architectural character of the residential neighborhood of Carver Street. Also, if the hair salon business fails, the business may be sold or rented for some other use that would be undesirable to the community and may attract an undesirable element. And so, for those reasons, I strongly oppose allowing this exception.
Thank you. Mandy, I'm looking at the tax assessor's map, and am I right in saying it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's a 7th parcel off north side? 80. Does that look right?
That looks like the same.
So is everything prior to the 7th parcel commercial?
On that side of the street, the parcel just before that one, closer to 80, is a single-family home.
So it would be in between
Would be
two residential pieces of property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And across the street?
Is commercial.
Okay.
It almost, if I'm standing in the lot and I'm looking out, if I turn my head just to the right, it's commercial, and just to the left, it's residential. It's literally at that breaking point from across the street. And on the same side, it would be surrounded by homes.
But like I say, if I'm standing on the street looking, facing that piece of property, it's residential on both sides. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this commercial would be sandwiched in between.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Anyone in favor?
Mr. Rutherly again, Mr. Marley again.
So does someone speak in favor?
Against.
Well, you're welcome to come speak against if you'd like. You came all the way down.
In addition to what the person said about 10 Carver Street, I'd just like to add that lot is right in where they want to build a commercial property. It's right in front of a residential area that is owned by the 10 Carver Street and 16 Carver Street.
Okay,
I
thank
didn't
you.
hear that in the information.
Okay, I appreciate you doing that.
You got a recommendation?
Ms. Mayor, the last time we had a business on that side of the street, I think it was American Legion, and we got that out of there, so it's not another business on that side of the street. And I think we need to keep it residential like it is. No problem.
Okay, then I'm gonna,
I make a motion that we deny that request.
okay, so I have a motion to deny the variance.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, this is just kind of consistent come up with a line pretty traditionally, so then after we talked about it, Donaldson, we talked about it, and, you know, I think the line there is Carter Street. So, and then right side where that is, no one has a problem with it, on the left side of it, you know, we've said there's not gonna be, it's gonna stay residential. So I think this is very consistent with what's going on with other things for the past 10 years.
I think Brian's been there 50 years, I think that's right, Joe, too.
Something
He's coming up and still here, so.
And Brian's on 80, you know, I get that.
saying, part of it, just so, yeah, there's no
Yeah,
problem.
and.
It's one
and-
thing to convert an old house, but to build a metal building right in the middle, because you said the hair salon variance would stay with the owner, right? So if it gets sold, they would have to get another variance for the hair salon, so we'd end up with this metal building in a residential area.
Correct,
It wouldn't change to commercial, it would just stay residential.
right, that's correct.
And you just can't sandwich a commercial piece between two residential pieces. I don't
It's not
know.
the first one, you know, we had that like with, on Jet Drive, you know, there's two that are on Jet Drive. Fletcher's got it, too. Several of those, if it's on the main road, we've done it. But when you go one off of that crossing, we've always had it.
Motion to deny again.
Okay. We had discussion, so
Double
then,
motion?
Emphatically motion.
who's in favor of denying this motion? Who's in favor of denying the variance, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, variance denied. All right, item number 9, consideration of a motion to award a construction contract for upgrades to the fleet maintenance facility in the amount of $373,000 for Tiffins Polk Construction. Mr. Cheshire.
Thank you, Mayor. Y'all should be aware of this particular project. It is the upgrades to what we call fleet maintenance in the city shop. It's a CIP project. It's to be paid for actually out of solid waste collections, and the upgrades are necessary so that we can start working on natural gas vehicles and equipment inside the buildings and doing it proper and as per code. This also upgrades a couple other code issues while we were in there. The bids were good, they were solid bids, although we have $345,000 budgeted and the low bid was $373,000, so we're $28,000 over the budget. We do have one option, we have a deductive alternate, which would have been to utilize fluorescent lights as we replace the lights in the facility with LEDs. We would rather use the LEDs. They're a little bit more expensive, but they will pay for themselves over time. So we're not recommending that alternative, that deductive alternate. But to make up that $28,000, we feel like our budget for solid waste collections is probably conservative, a little bit conservative, so we got a little room in there. But what we'll also do is delay a couple projects, and I'll defer to Jason Boyle, so he can explain those projects. If we can make sure we've got the cash flow, we've got it covered, we can delay a few to make sure that everything's going and we don't have any change orders. What were those projects we were going to hold off on a little bit?
We would start with the activity recorder, our FID system. I think it's $50,000 this year in the budget, so that's plenty cushion for this.
Okay. That's the equipment that's going in some of our vehicles, garbage trucks.
That's right. And it could wait if we needed to.
So staff's recommendation is going to be, and Darren, were you going to present some more on it too? Well,
procedural wise, of course, we follow public works law and advertising and all the components we ask for. We do recommend go with base bid. We feel that both the lighting and the exhaust capture system for vehicles, we're going to have to do it eventually, and we probably get volume pricing doing it all at once. We wait later, 30% more to do the same on the project. Recommend $372,000 for Tibbetts Pope. I did put a note in there. One thing that we asked for proof of general liability and workers' comp insurance, and they did not put it in there. We have the right to waive technicalities and best interest. We recommend that we just require them to submit that with their payment performance line that's required. They perform recent projects where they've had the insurance. And we have no doubt they have it. It's just an oversight. So we recommend waive that technicality for Tiffin Pope. We did have a pre-bid where we had approximately 10 contractors show up. And obviously, we have
comfortable with their previous performances on their previous project?
Yes, sir, they've done several, I think, including the natural gas and water sewer facility storage area on Wood Street.
And our project engineer, I ran the subs, the subcontractors by them, and they were comfortable with their subcontractors and their suppliers.
They're solid.
Okay, any other questions from council? Do I have a motion to award the contract to Tippins Polk Construction?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 10. Thank you, Mr. Frank. Consideration of a motion to approve a professional engineering services contract to Hussey, Gay, Bell, and DeYoung in the amount not to exceed $52,000 for design, survey, and wetland consulting services on SNS Railroad Bed Sewer Extension, and I will ask Robert, please speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. If you recall, at one of the recent council meetings, we got approved to extend the sewer to the city limits along the railroad bed road, SNS Railroad Bed Road. This is the actual consulting services contract. I've reviewed it, as have board sewer staff. And we've got a representative from Hussey Gabriel here, CJ Chance, and actually asked them to change and modify a couple of things, which they did. There's a couple not to exceed prices in there, but we've got good prices on everything, so our hope will be that in the end it'll be a little bit less than $52,000. It'll be based on the hourly on two of the items, two of the task orders in there. But I reviewed it and I feel good about the contract. Van, do you want to add anything?
Not a whole lot. I think prior council meeting, Mayor Council had a desire not to extend. We talked about extending the water main, looping it back down SNS, Tar Rush and Burke Hall, and I think y'all decided at that time that it would benefit the city more if we stayed within the existing city limits to try to serve the existing property that is annexed in, which this will serve a huge parcel. I think it's around 62 acres. It'll encourage and assist development within the city limits, and also hopefully, if the construction price comes in and is approved by Mayor and Council, it'll encourage adjacent property owners to hopefully annex into it and live a bit closer to their properties.
I mean, it puts us in a good position to extend it in the event that adjacent parcel gets it or agrees to annex into the city.
That's correct.
And develop, so it'll be postured to do that, is that correct?
That's correct. With extending utilities, the sewer is the expensive utility versus the water. And so that's the one that assists the development of property, underdeveloped property the most is extension of sewer, especially in cases such as this. I believe that sewer starts at like 20 feet deep, and I can't speak on how deep it will be based on design topography. So, sewer is extremely expensive for especially residential development. And I think that's what Mayor and Council desires in this area, residential.
So that takes care of water and sewer as far as design goes.
The water has already been designed.
That's been designed, so we're done with all of it.
The entire loop line that gets it back to Burke Calder to one has been designed. It's sitting on the table ready to go to bid. Y'all just chose not to move forward with that. Instead, to keep utilities within the existing annex area within the city.
Okay.
And I encourage that too.
Is it approved to extend the water?
That's correct. Yeah, the water main was approved to extend just to the city limit. And this will extend the sewer pretty much to the same location.
Okay. Any questions?
Well, kind of on that base, this is and maybe we do this every time, but I just haven't seen a bill broken out like this. And so it gives you an opportunity to look at it. So I thought we've already paid for the design of this.
No, not for.
So what are the drawings with Hussey Gay Bell and Young in the right corner, the big packet that shows this layout?
That was just a concept on being able to serve all that, I believe, is it 90?
Do we pay for the concept?
That's the same thing I think that's in your packet as well. There should be an exhibit that shows a master plan for everything out around Railroad Bed Road,
Right.
Burke Calder Road. There's been no survey done in this.
Well, right, survey is a different fee.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's been no wetlands consultant, there's been
That's
no
a different
design
fee.
on that.
A new design on it?
No.
No. It's all just a concept plan based on topo. That's all they, to see how much property.
Well, it should be done on topo, because you're about to bill me again for a survey. So it's done on a guess of a topo?
No, there's some information that you can get that's readily available. Google supplies, there's some LiDAR information that you can use to get a good idea of what the topography is. But as far as field run topo, that's one of the line items.
That's one of the
proposal.
In other words, the topo will tell you, it's about 30 feet above sea level. The survey will tell you it's 32 feet, 3.6
That's
inches.
right, and 9 out of 10 times the readily available information is relative to each other. So even if it's off 2 feet, it's off 2 feet here, it's off 2 feet here, so it's relative to each other, so you can determine which way it actually flows. So.
And also the topo on this one does, it follows the design follows the wetlands, so they have to have all that wetlands delineated and flagged out to determine where that sewer main will be placed. If you serve wetlands and you've got to buy credits in a bank, mitigation bank, I think they call it, and they're extremely expensive. That's why you see now on our contracts, construction projects, we actually directional drill under the wetlands when we have to cross them. So you don't have to deal with all that, you don't have to buy paper credits. But I like the idea of the fact that Robert has reviewed these and got them to break them out. It's real easy to follow on different line items for different tasks.
Yeah, and I guess since we're doing that, I might keep asking questions. So, tell me exactly what happens for, I know we just approve things for Megan, but what exactly is a $3,500 bid? We're going to pay you $3,500 to help us bid a job out, and we're paying you $52,000 to design.
You're not paying $52,000 for design, you're paying $19,250.
That's right, right.
Okay, the $3,500 for bidding. The city of Statesboro requires a mandatory pre-bid conference. The city of Statesboro requires, well, not the city of Statesboro, state of Georgia requires a mandatory open bids process. So those are two things that fit inside of that. Another thing is we actually are the plan holders list. We hold the plan holders. Anybody who wants to purchase the plans, we keep a record of who those people are, so that if there are any addenda that go out, we prepare the addenda. We run it through water, sewer, city manager. That goes out. We collect any questions in reference to the plans, whether it be on a technical nature or whether it be on a legal issue, insurance issue, bond issue, anything. We collect those questions, we answer those questions, and we also issue an addenda on that. Following accepting the bids, we then tabulate the bids, check all the bids, make sure everything's included, make sure all the bid bonds are there, make sure all the insurance certificates are there. We create a spreadsheet that lists if there's 3 bidders or if there's 30 bidders. We list all the bids, line item by line item, and then make a recommendation to the city, which will then come back to the city council for the recommendation of award. And I'll also add that I think that that's very in line with similar projects that have gone on recently, not just with our firm, but with other firms as well.
They're incentive to doing your job.
Well, it's true. I mean, I could do some of this. The main thing's gonna come to the addendums issue. I'm gonna have to go to them and get them to answer the technical questions and do that work. Carrying out the process is not a problem, we do it all the time. But they're still gonna be, they're gonna have to provide the service of the technical information and adjustments. That's the main one.
Okay.
It's almost along the same lines of having somebody handle your insurance bid. They go out and look for the best deal. And look at things line item by line item as to what's being covered and what's not being covered, and it functions as the same process.
It's really, that's right, it's, if it's vehicles or general services or products that we bid out, it's easy. The engineering degrees and PEs are going to, I wouldn't want to take that liability to gather info, decipher it, and issue an addendum my name on it. That's the advertising, the other stuff, sure I could do it. The doing part's gonna be the part that it has to be broken down.
Okay.
It's a very informal process too, so it only takes one mistake or one challenge from a contractor, or maybe not weeding out, going through the qualification and dealing with the contractors you haven't used before. We would rely a lot on this again, so we'll make sure we're utilizing them. So I compared it to some of the other projects we have going, and it's a very reasonable price at that.
Like Derek says, they have the technical ability to answer the questions and put out in the addendum that the city sends.
Well, I think most of the projects that's dealt with in this arena involve thoroughfares, structures, and if they mess up, changing a spec or an addendum, their area of emissions are going to cover it. If we decide to make a change on an addendum, then we're going to be partly liable.
So we weigh that when we look at these, whether Darren's going to put them out, whether we do them. Sometimes it has to do with plans that we do in-house ourselves. We may feel more comfortable with them because we've handled them ourselves. But we do look at that. We weigh this as to whether we think Darren should do it or whether we think we, in this case, stay consistent with our water sewer and stick with them. And these are great questions. That's why we break it down like that, so you can ask these questions.
And we don't mind if the city wants to bid it either. I mean, if that item needs to be removed, because we certainly don't, I mean, that's.
No, we'd rather you have the lab.
And that's the way it is most times, but if that's an item that you want to come out of our package, then we don't have a problem with that.
Just asking.
I will add, I do parallel with it and go through the meetings and the functions. It's definitely a process of observed on our behalf.
Whenever we get ready to bid the job, we actually, before we send out any bid documents, we call Darren. We go through every day that we're going to have everything. We establish that with Darren. Darren puts the ad in the paper, but we handle everything from that point on. And then when we have the pre-bid, Darren is here with us at the pre-bid. When we have the bid opening, Darren's here at the bid opening.
Okay, any other questions from council? All right, do I have a motion to approve the contract as listed in item 10?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We'll move to agenda item 11, which is other business from city council. I have a couple of quick things, but I'll defer to see if anybody else has something that they'd like to talk about.
Just a quick question, either Mandy or Robert. Do we have, in notice that you had a quorum issue with P&Z? Is that an ongoing issue, or do we need another member? Are we fully staffed? I mean, what's the situation there?
It has not been a recurring problem, which we did not have that very many meetings this particular calendar year. We have had more cases here recently than what we had earlier in the year. I think this was a unique occurrence. That being said, though, we do have two members whose terms are expiring next month. That will be Mr. Bill Benton and Mr. Jeremy Reagan. I've spoken with both of those gentlemen. Mr. Reagan wishes to return. He would like to serve another term, but Mr. Benton does not feel that way. So we will be meeting in the next few weeks to reappoint Mr. Reagan if that fits with you all, and also find a replacement for Mr. Benton's term. And I do have, I would like, Reverend Lee is here, Reverend Charles Lee is here. Okay, he is a member of our planning commission. He is always present, always engaged. And I appreciate his service to that. Mr. Lee, do you want to say anything?
Love that. Every opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I think,
Run by Mr. Lee and we're good.
I think Mandy's right. We are going to have to look at a replacement for Jim Benton. So my suggestion is if y'all have anybody that you feel would be appropriate, turn those names in to Robert, and we can vet them out of the meeting and vote a new member on. When does Mr. Benton's term expire?
September 20th.
Okay, so about the
Well,
30th.
that's an unusual time for a term. Did he fill somebody else who resigned or something along those lines?
No, it just felt that way. We had a point a couple of years back where we reorganized the planning commission and changed the ordinance a bit.
Okay.
So, but both terms expire on that day.
And I think you, Mandy, you made us aware that we may have an issue with attendance on maybe another person, so we probably will need at least a couple names if it shakes out that way.
Yes, that's correct.
So like I said, we don't have, is it okay? You okay with just submitting to Robert, do you think? Would be good to serve, and then we can,
Is there an application they would fill out?
Yes, sir, there is.
Can you email that to all of us?
I will.
That way, whoever wants to serve, we'll give them an application. They will
That
serve.
sounds like a plan.
There you go. Mayor?
The only other thing I have is, and this one's for Van, Van, I've had a couple people call me over the past 4 or 5 weeks about the water main break and.
It's colored water.
Yeah, and then, what's that?
it's colored water.
Colored water.
It's colored.
I thought it was just flavored. And I've heard a couple of comments like that the waste or the procedure has changed. Are there policies and procedures that have changed?
We have in the past, I think maybe 2 or 3 times ever given adjustments for discolored water. Typically, you can't run, if you run a spigot, you can't run to about 12 to 14 gallons a minute through it. Most people run it about 10 or 15 minutes and they call us.
Sure.
Not saying, I know I get called to a lot this afternoon or this morning concerning this issue, but we've never, other than maybe 2 or 3 times, given credits on bills that look down the line for having to flush discolored water. We've always instructed our people to not flush service inside until we flush the water main.
Mm.
And this particular lady said that she was told different, and I apologize for that.
Well, and like I said, it wasn't, today was just kind of a tipping point I've heard from enough people, it's like time to bring it up.
Well, we did have we had a fire out late back, I think, June, first part of July. It did cause a tremendous amount of discolored water throughout the system. We had several crews running, flushing hydrant, and then Hargrave putting in fiber, hit an 8-inch water main out in front of Franklin Chevrolet, and it caused that same issue again, probably a month later. But we are reviewing the policy on how if we do credits and how we provide those credits, for what reasons. Then of course that would have to go before mayor and council to be approved. And in that we have discussed not giving any credits for discolored water calls where they flush the service line. Typically, if they'll wait for the city, if they'll call the city and allow them to have adequate time to flush the mains, then within 2 to 3, 4 minutes, they can flush the cold water line. And then, of course, if they use hot water, they're going to purge that entire volume out, which, that's less than 100 gallons. So they wouldn't see it on the video. So, but we are, Robert's working with us on that, city attorney, water sewer staff, city clerk, on coming up with a new policy to come before council.
And Mr. There is a
tremendous amount of requests, even on leaks and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
That was it. I was going to ask Ms. Sue something, but I don't need to ask it. Good.
Okay, I'll give a quick update, as I promised I would do, on the ongoing investigation. Right now, the tapes are being transcribed, and Mr. Peterson is going through the information, and we don't have anything other than that. I did want to say, is Jason still here? Did he go? Oh, I'm just not used to seeing you up there, Jason. I'm looking out in the audience there. I do have to give Jason some kudos. I got a call from someone who was completely upset last Friday. And I'll tell you who it was. Her business is at the Mad Potter. And she just got my cell number from somewhere, and I was sitting at my desk at work. And she's right there at the corner. There's a dirt road that goes in between her business there on 301 South and where Cleve White's Nissan place used to be on the other corner, where they're building another apartment complex back in there. And they were going through working on some utilities going underneath the road, and they dug up a bunch of dirt and basically didn't appropriately fence it in. And so there was just like a river running down that clay road, and it was all dumping over into her property. I mean, her business was flooded with water and clay. It was a mess. And she couldn't even pull the fence open to open up the thing, and the contractor, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, was out of Alabama, and he, wasn't responsive. Let's put it that way. Anyway, so I asked Jason, being the engineer and the head of public works, I said, do you mind going and over there to see what's going on? Because we had been there once, I believe, and made suggestions that had not been adhered to. And so Jason said, yeah, give me about an hour and I'll get over there. And he got over there, and about that time, he'd been there, what, about 30 minutes? And I left the office and went over there just to see for myself, and it was disgusting. I mean, it was just clay and slime and everywhere. So anyway, the long story short of it is, Jason got the contractor together, somebody else, or like 3 folks. And I'm gonna let you tell what y'all did, because you went above and beyond the call of duty and getting people together. And this is why when you can get folks to work together, you can come to a point of consensus. But go ahead, brag on yourself, what you did. In the microphone.
Just work with staff and work with the property owner and work with the subcontractors on site, Mill Creek Construction and Allied Utilities, who have a good working relationship with the city. And we're able to just convince them this is in their best interest to work with the property owner and remediate everything to her pleasure. And they stepped up and made it easy for us.
And basically, it's been fixed as far as we know.
Yes, ma'am. And I actually were out there today during the rain shower we had around noon, and everything was fine. Everything's holding. Yeah, but Allied Utilities and Mill Creek Construction stepped up, made it easy on us. They brought in a truckload of sand, a truckload of mulch. Spent about 8 hours with 6 personnel out there cleaning everything up and putting everything back just like it was. And actually did a few other things that the property owner considered probably wasn't directly resulted from them, but since they were out there, would they mind helping them out? And they said, sure, we're here, we'll take care of that for you. So they took care of it Friday afternoon and Saturday morning.
And who brought the breakfast? The city didn't pay for breakfast, did we? Okay, I just want to make sure.
Ms. Brown took care of that. She was very
She brought
pleased.
breakfast for the guys that were working out there.
Breakfast for everyone up there. Very pleased.
Anyway, I just want to thank you, because that really, I mean, she really couldn't run her business. And so that was a good job, and I appreciate that. I know she appreciates that.
Thank you. Fortunately, this one had a happy ending.
No, we don't always get that, do we? All right, that's all I've got. Does anybody else have anything? We'll turn to Robert for his report.
And I'll keep mine brief. I know we've got the military public hearing at 6:30. West Main and South College, that's the intersection that we've had some trouble with the brick pavers. That's been completed. Contractor came in Monday evening, so we shut it down with Public Works help. Shut it down around 9, opened it back up about 3:30 a.m. I believe. So it's in place now. I think it looks good. We'll see how that product holds, and if it holds like we hope it will, and think it will. We utilize it in other places, but anyway, I like it. I encourage you to go look at it, give us your opinion. Resurfacing is moving well. Of course, these rains slow us up. Gentilly was going to be close to finish tomorrow, but they had a pretty good shower this afternoon. So I think that slowed them down a little bit, so maybe a couple more days. And then Grady, we got several sections on Grady that'll be done, so they're moving along, making some good progress and doing a good job at Sykes Construction. We did have a meeting, Councilman Britt last night, and the mayor, myself, and some other staff met with the county and with the KBB advisory board, and that's to discuss the shifting of the KBB from county to city. And made a little bit of progress, but I think we've got a ways to go. But we are having some good discussions.
Some a few.
Yeah. So, but we're getting there.
We're still hung up on the money, you're trying to say.
Don't even know that we got.
Well, didn't even get that far. Oh.
That's not even ballpark yet.
Oh, I guess.
We're gonna have a meeting to discuss when we're gonna meet to actually have a meeting.
About money.
But we are. We're making a little bit of progress. The alcohol ordinance, we're still working on it. Mandy brought some good points to me, and that's something we need to think about. We had a really good public hearing a couple weeks ago, but we were really focusing on one item, and I thought Councilman Boyd made a good point. We've got a little bit of time here. Let's try to get it the way we want it before we put it out there and vote on it. So Mandy brought up some good points, and from a proximity and zoning standpoint, we need to look at those items too, because we don't want to have an issue with something that we really don't have a concern with, but we didn't write it correctly in there. An example might be the distance that you can have sales from a grocery store or a mid-mart to the university property. So, how is that interpreted? How do y'all want to interpret that? How do you want it written? So we really need to look at those kind of things, because when you're working on your downtown, you're working on South Main Street, let's try to get that stuff right so that we don't have to come back and revise it again. So staff is going to meet and come up with some ideas and some recommendations, but be able to present those to you in a fashion that you'll look at them and you'll say, you can of course tweak it or change it however you want, but go ahead and throw the items in front of you. So we're moving on to some other areas of the alcohol ordinance as well. And just two more short things. South Main update. The committee is continuing to meet there. There's a subcommittee that's working on guidelines, and Mandy has stepped up and helping from a staff standpoint. And I think there's a couple of meetings next week, for committees to meet and talk about it. So one of them is going to be a presentation from Alan Mulder, who's kind of heading up that section, I believe, and a consultant's going to come in and talk to the committee and some ideas. And then the other meeting, what's it more for? There's two meetings that day.
One is a committee meeting to talk further about making plans as far as next action steps for the group.
Okay.
And then the other meeting is the consultant will come in and talk about new concepts.
Okay. So there, you may not see it, but there's some progress being made there. And I think once it gets some traction again, you'll see it move quicker.
Mandy, if I'm not mistaken, we did not the chamber, what's the word I'm looking for, endorse, recommend the Georgia redevelopment powers?
That is my understanding.
Yeah. So we've got an official chamber support.
I was not present for that meeting, but that was the report I received.
And that's what I got you.
That's a good point. And then my last item would be to ask Ms. Cody to give just a brief update on the Fab Lab.
Thank you. As most of you know, we're slowly but surely moving into the construction part of the Fab Lab and the Business Innovation Center that we jointly supported by Georgia Southern and the City of Statesboro. We have selected both the design firm, which is Studio 3 out of Augusta, as well as the construction management firm, which most of you will know is the AK Builders, Brian Kempton's team, right here in Statesboro. We did participate with staff from Georgia Southern in making those selections, and we feel, I think it's safe to say, the staff that working on that project here feel good about the team that has been selected, both design-wise and management-wise. On September the 4th, we will be hosting a design charrette with Georgia Southern, and will be facilitated by Studio 3 in the held next door at the city campus. It's a day-long event. Please feel free to come in and drop by, participate if you feel you wish to do so. I've sent you a schedule of your emails. I can give that to you again as well. That's a really important day. If you have an opinion on how, particularly the outside of that space should look and feel in our downtown area, how those two buildings should be joined together, how the alley should operate, that's your day to share that with the design team. So we'll also be talking about the inside of those buildings and how they'll functionally operate. What part will be equipment and computers, what part will be incubation services for the actual business tenants that will be there, and how does all of that work together? Those are city buildings, so we're paying a lot of attention to making sure that we have some long-term use and be thinking long-term in how we design and construct those buildings. And then on September the 11th at 1:30 that afternoon, Studio 3 will be coming back into town. They'll be presenting some renderings and thoughts that they come from their takeaways before. So before, a lot of stakeholder input from us, from Southern, from CETA, from anybody who needs to be part of that process. The 11th will actually begin to see that. And we'll also right start, if you will, the Fab Lab that day. So we'll start talking about HVAC and electrical systems and life safety and fire and all of that with our safety team that afternoon at 1:30. So please save those dates, 9 to 5 on September the 4th, and again at 1:30 on September the 11th. If you do wish to participate, please let me know. We didn't even make arrangements for that account that day.
My only question is, how do you spell charrette?
Yeah, I've looked it up several times, and I believe it is CHARRETTE. Spelling is not my forte.
That's right, no one else is going to see this.
Okay, thank you, Mandy, for that complete report.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I just, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. We have a very wonderful asset with the city, Ms. Mandy Cole. She's very wise in the planning and zoning area of the city. And sometimes I sit and I listen to her explain things in different mediums. She's very sharp. I just want, since everybody's throwing accolades, she's very sharp. I admire her. And that's to be a worker. And she should be commended for a job well done.
I would agree.
Thank you.
I would agree. And thank you for speaking up.
Yes, ma'am.
I think sometimes we don't tell people enough
That's right.
that they're doing a good job.
I try to do it every time we meet, to let her know that I learned something from her.
And I noticed you haven't told any of us that we're doing a good job. Not fishing, you saw that, tossing that out
The
there.
whole barrel.
No, wow. I never did.
Doing a marvelous job.
Hang in there, your time will come.
It doesn't count, Mr. Reverend Lee, when you got to beg for it. It doesn't
No,
count.
that's what I'm saying, I wasn't fishing, wasn't going fishing, I just, in the spirit of full disclosure on that.
Hey, Robert, I do have only one quick question on Gentilly, and that was, since we got 5 minutes before the thing, might as well heat it up.
That's the restroom time.
I only have one cup, so I'm good.
10 to get coffee.
I only have one cup. Could you just briefly explain the timing of Gentilly? Again, some folks have complained about it being GSU moving weekend and that being started.
Let's be honest, it wasn't some folks.
Huh?
It was a lot of folks.
It was a lot of
Like
folks.
they did.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I drove through it twice, at least twice, both directions during the weekend. I found it to be smooth, not a problem, no safety issues of any kind. But for whatever reason, people got a burn in their bonnet about it, so maybe you could just.
Yeah, we did write the contract so that they had to have it done several streets, being Lanier, Old Register Road, a small section there, Gentilly, Tillman, because of the proximity to the school, we put a date in there, a deadline, and some liquidated damages. Now, we left it up to them to choose which ones to do first. That helps with the price, we can give them some latitude, and they chose to do Gentilly last. We started pressuring them pretty hard, as it was getting close and put it in writing that we do have some liquidated damages, and they picked up the pace in doing it. But they chose Gentilly last. It's a 3-lane, so fortunately you can do lane shifts and it's not that bad, but it would not have been our preference to do what they did.
Well, it would have been better than Tillman or not.
Yeah, I think one reason they chose it like that is the construction technique and what we're asking for on that cross section. It's significantly different. It's more than just an overlay. It's a mill, it's an undercut, it's a backfill, and then 2 layers of asphalt. So we left them that, what I said earlier, latitude to choose to do that. I would have done it earlier, but that was their choice. So hopefully they'll be done soon, and then it'll be a lot better.
So they got into the damages area yet?
They're right at it. Now, we did add 2 things to it. The water sewer had a issue on North Main Street that was continuously sinking, and we asked this contractor to do that work. So we added some time there, and then West Main, they were the ones that, once we took the brick out, they were the ones that put the asphalt. So we put 2 things on them, so we had to extend their days a little bit. They're right at it, but they're moving and they're making that effort, and in between the lanes, we probably will not give them a little bit of
And people are yelling no.
So you're saying we won't hit it because it won't be at it, or we're not gonna hit it with it because we're.
Yeah, we're not gonna exercise it, because they're right at the end of it, and they've made the effort here, and they've done some other really good work. So.
People are a nice city.
Yeah, that would be our recommendation to not do it.
Unfortunately, on occasion I talk about us, but they built a federal building in town, in there, and they weren't gonna be finished with it. And they said, no problem. Larry said, no problem. The guy said, you're being very understanding. He said, yes, it's $40,000 a day.
Something tells me we're not getting 40,000
They brought
a day.
in crews from 4
Gentilly.
or 5 states to finish the building, and literally worked 24 hours a day.
Ours
They had written it 40 grand a day. It's like, hey man, don't build it. Take a month.
Ours is
Take 2. Take 2.
Right. Good point. Point taken.
Anything else? Okay, Ms. Sue, do we have anybody that's asked to make a public comment? All right, great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay. We'll take a quick break and come back for our public hearing on the village rate. It will be 10 late.
and empty.